do judgments affect our society? Look at that word right there, judgment. Now, everyone might have a different connotation for that word. To some, it might resonate with judge or court of order. To others, it might resonate with being called out, bullied, on things that you like or enjoy. There is no right or wrong answer for the connotation of that word. But today we're going to talk about the second one. Yes, the one to do with the bullying and mistreated, because I can bet that every person in this room at one point has felt judged. It could be for anything. For the color of your room, the shirts that you wear, the movies and TV shows that you like, or what you stand for. But what does being judged feel like? You'd probably describe something very different that doesn't feel very nice. To me, it feels something like this. It is like a dark cloud that is raining down on me. It instantly makes my mood drop. And it makes me double think everything I do. If I asked every person in this room what it felt like to be judged, I can bet everyone would give me a different answer. Because we all feel things differently, process things differently, and have emotions differently. Therefore, we can't really know what it feels like to be judged concretely. I just know that it brings down my mood, and makes me feel down, and double think everything I do. It's as if my self-esteem drops to the center of the earth. It's a feeling of hopelessness and helplessness, because you can't do anything to help yourself, and many times you feel like you can't defend yourself. Okay, in society in general, there seems to be a common misconception between judgment and constructive criticism. Judgments are, according to a dictionary, an opinion or conclusion. For example, it can be harmless, like, I really don't like the color of your wall. That is an opinion that can mean nothing to you. That just means that that specific person doesn't like that specific color. And you don't need to change it unless you truly value that person's opinion. You could change it or you could keep it the same. But there's also bad judgment. Judgment that might hit people in a different way, such as the classic too fat, too skinny, too tall, too short, too dumb, or too smart. Those judgments might make the person feel terrible, especially if they're coming from a friend, family member, and they can lead to serious consequences such as eating disorders like bulimia, anorexia, or mental disorders such as depression or anxiety. On the other hand, you could say, you all look better painted white. That gives the person a suggestion on how to change and how to grow. Because judgments tend to be conclusive and they tend to lack that quality. So the toughest part is that we live in an extremely judgmental society. It's a society that sees it perfectly normal to judge someone as they see fit and put them into boxes. It's a decisive society. There's no center ground. You're either fat or skinny, tall or short, or smart or dumb. Because of this particularly judgmental society, we have young kids from the ages of 11 onwards, for example, feeling pressured to fit into a certain mold and try to become someone they're not, dressing and acting out of age like they're older. That can be a very self-destructive tendency for these young kids since they're trying to fit into these boxes that are completely unrealistic. And they're trying to avoid being judged by their peers, or by the internet or social media. That can make the kids feel very bad about themselves. And there are also certain mental disorders, as I mentioned before. Eating disorders, depression, anxiety that can come from this. Because people don't agree with their ideas and or fit into their mold. Judgments are everywhere we look. We hear them in the press, we hear them among our peers, our family, our friends, and especially the internet. Another big misconception is that it's the internet's fault that we live in this judgmental society. We tend to forget that behind every phone, computer, article, photo, and video, and so on, there's a person. It is a person that is setting the standards of fat and skinny, tall, short, smart, and dumb. We need to learn to separate the person from behind the computer and understand that we are all equal. We can all agree that we get hurt when we are judged. So why does our happiness need to rely on people behind these computers? Okay, we also need to learn to be conscious about the things that we post. Not everything needs to be positive, but there are some things that are out of place, such as websites encouraging young girls into eating disorders because of their size. For the younger generation, being told something like that, with no reasoning other than their appearance, can really hurt, and it can ruin you. When we're judged when we hurt, and it makes sense, since it's something hurtful. Instead of just sitting there, we need to promote a change. We need to learn to be happy with the way that we are, and stop this vicious cycle. There are various steps that we can take to do this. Step 1. When we're judged, we need to stop and remember that they're just people. Their conclusive words should have no effect on the way that we view ourselves, on the way that we act, and the way that we carry ourselves. And step 2, we need to think before we speak and think before we post. I know this is something that seems really repetitive. It's something that we're told for a really long time when we're young. It's the classic, treat others the way that you like to be treated. But there's a reason for that, and that's because it's true. We need to start putting into play that phrase. We need to start thinking, do I really want to provoke a horrible feeling of hopelessness and hurt to someone when they're just being themselves? And after you can decide that, you can press post. Let's make the society we live in a more accepting, open-minded one, and not only for us, but for the generations ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Agus. Thank you, Agus. I know you're young, but do you think judgments are worse today than they might have been a little while ago?
I think so, because like nowadays the media spreads everything so quickly that when you think something, it just quickly goes everywhere, and everyone like can think the same and can go against it for it. So it always places it in discussion, and it can spread. And yes, I think it's worse.
What about you, Agus? Do you guys think that we're a more judgmental society than we were 20 years ago?
Yes.
All right, let's take Agus's 2 steps into mind as we go forward into the future with both our use of social media and our relationships with each other. Thank you, Agus.